Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, I'm not going to introduce Brother Minister Farrakhan because he's no stranger to the world. I merely want to say, let us thank Almighty God for blessing us to be here this day, and let us welcome our leader, our teacher, our divine guide, Minister Louis Farrakhan.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is but one God, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of the one God, Allah. I'm very thankful to Allah for the privilege of standing before you this afternoon to recite to you some of the words of wisdom and guidance that we have received as a result of being students of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the magnificent wisdom that was brought to him by the great Mahdi, Master Farad Muhammad. I have so much to tell you, to share with you. I only hope that Allah will guide me in the things that I wish to impart to you this afternoon. I will start first by saying that I need the help of Allah and I need your help. I need Allah's help always, because the task at hand is one that one does not dare to attempt without the help of God. The task of uniting black people, the task of raising us from a state of mental, moral, spiritual, social, economic, and political death, the task of extricating us from the lies and the tricks of the rulers of this world, particularly the government of the United States of America. That's a big task. And it is so much bigger than I am and than we are that I cannot attempt it, we cannot attempt it, without asking Allah's help and guidance, and we certainly cannot be successful without the help of Allah and direct guidance from Him. Now, I need your help in helping to establish a national center for the re-education and retraining of the black man and woman of America. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad envisioned the city of Chicago as being the capital of Islam in the Western Hemisphere. That's a very big statement. Black people in America have not had a capital.
That's right. Right.
I know that America has a capital, and that is, of course, Washington, D.C., and, of course, that is our capital, and I put that in quotes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because though it is our capital, it is not our capital. Nothing in Washington is for the benefit of 30 million suffering black people.
That's right.
Justice does not come out from Washington for you and me.
That's right.
Laws that have been put on the books that are good are not effectively enforced from Washington. The government has never interceded on our behalf to see that black men and women tried in white courts get justice in accordance with the laws of the land. Out of the Capitol, out of the government, from the august body of legislators, secret commissions have been formed to thwart the progress of black people, to destroy our organizations and the effectiveness of our leaders, and indeed even to kill our leaders that white people do not like and do not agree with. We have not had a capital. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a man raised up by God to divinely lead and teach and guide black people of America. In his absence, I am to be a reminder of him to you and to the government of the warnings that Allah guided him to speak. And I am to sit in his seat by his permission. He was made by God the leader, teacher, and guide of black people. And there is no doubt in my mind that he is that. And there is no doubt in my mind that I am that in his place. These are not vain statements. They are not meant to be boastful statements. They're just statements of actual fact, whether you wish to accept it or not. By the grace of Allah, we have retrieved that property that was to be used as a national center, or, if you will, a national capital of black people. Not only black people in America, but a national capital of black people all over the world. What should we expect from such place? We should expect guidance, knowledge, wisdom, understanding, research, the publishing of books and periodicals that will feed new life to our people and in general to all people from that house. I want you to help me develop the University of Islam. Not a grade school, not a high school, but a bona fide university that babies attend as well as the grown-ups. Because when you brought your child into the world from the darkness of your womb, you brought your child into the universe of God, into a schoolroom, if you will, of divine truth. And from the time that baby was in the womb, it was feeling the effect of its environment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And when it came forth out of the womb, it was feeling the effect of the home environment. It started learning from the day it could sense the environment.
That's right.
We need new textbooks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Textbooks written from a divine perspective. We do not need the textbooks of this world that approach every discipline with a denial of God.
That's right.
We need God at the root of every discipline, for he is the author of all knowledge. How could God not be at the core of education when he is the author of knowledge and is the truth himself? Oh, praise be to God. I need your help in bringing this kind of knowledge to the world, to you first, because you and I have been made the least, and it is the intention and the will of God to make the least the most for his glory. He promised this, that he would take the foolish things of the world and confound the wise. He is now doing that. Out from that capital, the capital of black people, shall come universal knowledge that is applicable to every member of the human family, including the Caucasian. I need your help in establishing a state-of-the-art television and radio facility, that I may come to black people in America and throughout the world and all other human beings who wish to listen to me without coming through the filter of a Zionist-controlled media. I am misunderstood by my own people, not because I am incapable of speaking clear words. I am probably one of the clearest teachers on earth today. When you hear Louis Farrakhan, you would have to be dead not to understand me. And if you are mentally dead, God has blessed me to be able to reach you even in that condition and raise you from the dead. My brothers and sisters misunderstand me because they have learned of me through a wicked filter. A wicked filter. The media wants me misrepresented, because they fear that if you heard what I really stood for, who I really am, and what I really have from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and from Almighty God Allah for your rise, that you would come not by the 5s and the 10s, but you would come by the thousands, because I am the one that you have been searching for all the days of your life. You see, I thought it was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I am no more than an extension of him. I am he, and he is me, and we are one. Yes. So don't claim to accept him and reject me. If you love him, you've got to love me. Or you are a liar and the truth is not in you. I need your help to establish an ability to reach the world through satellite communication. They shouldn't be guessing about us in Africa. They shouldn't be guessing about us in the Middle East or in Asia. So when I speak from now on, I must not speak to small audiences. I must speak to the world, because I have a message in my mouth and a message in my heart for the whole world.
Yes, sir.
And that message should not be impeded by language distortion or misunderstanding. There are those who stand ready to translate my words into Spanish and French and Arabic and the languages of the human family, that they may know that God has risen up a black man in America who can speak the language of the oppressed all over the world. I need your help. I have been remiss in my duty because I have always taught and I've never told you what to do. After teaching you, I would inspire you and let you go to do what you will to do. I never inspired you and then directed you personally to help me. And therefore, every time I taught you and did not direct you to help me, I laid on you a burden. But I, in this last year, have been attempting to remove that burden from you. Because it is your duty to help a man that is speaking the bold truth uncompromisingly. I should not have to ask for your help. You should be running here to help me with everything that you have. That's true. Since I am not the author of the message I speak, nor am I the author of the strength that I possess, nor am I the author of the principles upon which I stand, then I came forth out of the darkness of my mother's womb to serve humanity, and when my time is over, I shall return to the womb of the earth and say farewell. But as long as I am present in the world doing this job, to help me is to help yourself. To back me is to lift yourself. To give help to me in establishing this national center is to free you and to say to the world that we recognize after 400 years of giving our sweat, our blood, our life, and our tears for America, that America has not answered our call. She has not answered our cry. No leader, no president, no government, no party has helped the black man. Therefore all praise is due to Allah. Therefore, I today feel no reservation in calling on you now to support a head that loves you, a head that thinks for you, a head that will act in your behalf, and a head that cannot be bought out by the powers of the world. I want to build your capital city. I want black people. It's not a Muslim capital. It's not a narrow thing that's just good for those who call themselves Muslims, because I am more than that. I didn't come here to preach for Muslims. I wasn't born into the world to preach for Muslims, though I am a Muslim. I'm born into the world to preach for God. That's a big difference. And when you preach for God, you cannot slight humanity, particularly that black humanity out of which their longing, their cries have produced you. I am for my Christian brothers and sisters. I am for those who don't believe in God. Because I know that you don't believe in God because you have not found him in the hypocrisy of religion. But when you get acquainted with the truth, you can't help but believe in God. He is in the very core of your nature. So this is not a Muslim center. It is a capital for black people. Therefore, it should be made a thing of beauty and a thing of pride. That when we walk by, we can say, that's mine. Yeah. Do you belong there? Sure, I belong there. Are you a Muslim? No, I ain't no Muslim, but I belong there. And if you know anything about the name Muslim, it only means a righteous person. And God has declared you to be the righteous, so you belong wherever righteous people are. That's where you belong. It's not a house devoted to God that you don't have some access to. But this one will be a blessed house. I need your help. Yeah. Well, what kind of help you need? I need money. That's the first thing I need. Oh, I knew there was something wrong. Man gonna ask me for my money. No, no, no. I'm asking you to help me build your capital. A house that will benefit you and your children and unborn generations. That's what I'm asking. I'm not asking nothing for me. I'm asking you, let's build a house of our own. Start with a capital and then let's go on and build a nation. A nation independent for the will of God. Based upon God. Rooted in his righteousness. That's what I'm asking. And I'm saying this to you, that because I have not asked for money, I have no record of that. In fact, I'm timid. Is the truth. That has been one of my failings. I've been just timid to ask for money because I know how we are. I'm one of you, brother. Anytime people start asking for money, I get a funny feeling. But, you know, this is not my subject today. I'm just telling you. I got to get to my subject. I got to get off of this money so I can get to my subject. But what I'm saying to you is, I know when you got money, you want to hold it. I mean, that's natural, man. Because it took you so long to get it. It's so hard to get it. And you remember when you didn't have it. So when you get it and you got a little, you don't want to part with too much, you know. A little here, a little there, you know. I understand. But you know, that shows lack of confidence in the God who says that whatsoever is in the heavens and whatsoever is in the earth belongs to Allah. It all is his. He can give it to whom he pleases. So if you trust in him, if he gives you something, or if you don't have something, but you know you can get something, then go and get and give and watch God continue to give you more. But if you're stingy with what you have, even that will be taken from you. Particularly when you know that Farrakhan is not asking you for himself. I have not asked nobody in this building or any other building to get me a new pair of shoes or socks or buy me a car. I don't ask that. Whatever I ask is always for our nation, always for our people. I mortgage anything I got for our people. And I have done it, am doing it, and will do it again and again and again, because I will die, but the people will live. So I'm going to move on. Now, brothers and sisters, I hope that you will help me. That you will make a commitment, not only you in the final call, but you that are listening by radio. Because the brothers and sisters, particularly the brothers, we're going to canvass the city. We're going door to door, house by house. And we're asking you, we're going to give you a flyer or giving you a picture of that national center and what it is supposed to do for us. And if it doesn't do that, then come get me. Because I'm not running any place. I live here. And we're going to ask every black man and woman in Chicago, what can you give to help build a national center? Not a shrine for something dead, but a monument to your rise as a people and our rise as a nation. We're coming to your door. Please help us. If all you have is $1, if you give 50 cents of that dollar, God will bless you. If you give $1, if you give 5, if you give 10, if you can give 20, whatever you can give, just think about what you give to the liquor store that gives you nothing. Think about what you give to the crack seller who's giving you death. Think about the temporal pleasure, the short pleasure that you buy from a prostitute who's only giving you pleasure for a minute and sadness for your lifetime when you come up with herpes, simplex 10, and AIDS and syphilis. Think about the fine automobiles, the fine cars that you drive, and General Motors makes them to crack up in 3 years. Think about the fur coat that you have in your closet and the moths have eaten it up. But think about a national center that will feed your mind and develop your will and make a better woman and a better man and a better people. Think about the unwed mothers who have no school to go to, but there will be a university for them. Think about your little babies that need a proper education, and there will be a place for them. Think about those who will have correspondence courses who cannot come to the university, but from our publishing house, we will send educational materials everywhere in the world to feed and raise the black man up so that he may represent his people and the God who created him. Think about all of that. And when the brothers come with their credentials saying that they are from me, then when they knock on your door, help me to build something for you that we can be proud of as a people, as a beginning step in the right direction. I know that you will, and I'm sorry I took so long to say that, but that wasn't my subject. I had a very interesting study in this past 10 days. And God showed me so much that I wanted to share some of it with you today. And I couldn't help, after listening to Sister Tanetta Muhammad, some scholars of Islam say that Allah put the Quran in Muhammad at once. But it was circumstances that brought out aspects of the Quran. You will find that there never was a revelation of a verse of the Quran that was not preceded by a set of circumstances that those verses were aimed at correcting. It just wasn't a book sent down. It was a book sent down to correct prevailing conditions. I thought of that, and I thought of an experience that I had in 1985 where in a vision I was taken up on the mother of plains, and there I heard the voice of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on the wheel, revealing to me the secret plans of Ronald Reagan and the Joint Chiefs of Staff to start a particular war. I know that Mr. Reagan could not know that I, a black man who has no intelligence gathering apparatus, I cannot eavesdrop on the Joint Chiefs of Staff. But what I was told on the wheel, I told you. And then later it was revealed by white people that in the very month that I got that vision, Reagan had met with the Joint Chiefs of Staff to plan a war against Libya's Muammar Gaddafi. I went to Libya against the desires and wish of the United States government and told Gaddafi of their plans. I told Mr. Schultz, Secretary of State from Tripoli, leave this alone. This is the wrong course of conduct. It would not bring you good results. But more than that was told to me on the wheel. That which was told that I understood, I spoke. But I told you also that a scroll went off in my head, but I could see the reflection of the scroll outside of me in a cursive writing. And as I began to look closer at the scroll to understand it, Elijah Muhammad spoke again to me, and I could not read the writing, but the writing was inside. And from 1985 to today, I have both been saying and doing things that you don't have nobody around me teaching or telling me, but words start coming out that are crystal clear. And today's subject matter, by the grace of God, shall be equal to that and maybe more. We are suffering from the scourge of drugs as a people. There's hardly a family in America, particularly a black family, that doesn't have a member of that family that has been victimized by drugs. You know as well as I that drugs has been pretty much a black experience until recent years. It was primarily in the black community. And with our rise into consciousness, there was a greater and greater inflow of purer forms of drugs. In the 60s, it was heroin. And when the 60s erupted and blacks began marching with Dr. King and with H. Rap Brown and with Stokely Carmichael and with Malcolm X and the Panther Party, white folks got frightened because there was no religion that was holding us. There was no education that was holding us. So the only thing that could contain us was more potent drugs. And so there was an influx into the black community of a more pure form of heroin. As the 70s came and went, and we come to the 80s, Farrakhan became more subject to government scrutiny because he was rebuilding the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and God had blessed me to do it in such a wise way that before they knew what was going on, the nation was up and moving again.
Yes, sir. That's right.
In the latest Final Call newspaper, Attorney Louis Myers, who has ever been a fighter for justice for our people, outlines that Louis Farrakhan has now become public enemy number one of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, of the CIA domestically, and of the government of the United States of America. Why am I public enemy number one? I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't gamble, I don't use drugs, I don't chase women, I'm not a homosexual, I teach the truth to black men and black women. Is this why I'm public enemy number one? Is this why the government is sparing no cost and no pain to try and put Brother Farrakhan in jail? And did you think, white America, that you made a jail big enough to handle me? No, no, no. I'm born to master your jails and your prisons. In fact, I'm growing stronger every day in every prison in America. You don't have a hole deep enough or black enough to put me in, because there's no hole black enough that is blacker than the triple darkness of the womb out of which I came from my mother. And in the darkness of my mother's womb, there was a God present with me. And in the darkness of my mother's womb, there was light in that darkness. Therefore, God said, in the beginning, darkness covered the face of the heavens and the earth. And God said, let there be light. So if you think you can put me in a hole or put me in a dark cell or put me in a jail, you can only put my body there. But I am a man from Almighty God that have a light in triple darkness. And I have a God with me that if you try to put me in jail, he will stir up the masses of the people, and it will make what is happening from Mandela look like a kindergarten fairy tale story. Today, cocaine has taken over where heroin left off. Cocaine and its derivatives, morphine and the like, and heroin, these are used as poisons in the medical world to diminish pain, to diminish pain, to diminish pain. But now they've gone into their laboratories, the wicked scientists, and they have taken cocaine and they have added chemicals to it, knowing that these chemicals that they now call crack and whack and smack and send you all the way back into the hills and cave sides. That these chemicals will alter the process of thinking, destroy you mentally, destroy you socially, turn you into a devil in human form. There is not a black family, and now many, many white families have children that are sold to drugs, whose life is so dependent on this substance, whether it is alcohol as a depressant or cocaine as a stimulant. These drugs have altered the chemistry of the brain, but they are feeding on a genetic imbalance, a biogenetic need, a chemical need in the brain. a chemical need for relief from pain and the finding of pleasure. It is pleasure that the world is seeking to get away from pain. Let's look now, please. God makes us to know pain because the world is filled with opposites. That's the nature of God. And that's the nature in which He created all things. There is a negative in every positive. Yes. There is weakness even in strength. And there is strength in weakness. So God said His strength is made perfect in weakness. So God can bring strength up out of weakness and bring the incorruptible out of that which has been corrupted. See? He takes opposites and works with opposites. And therefore, in the beginning, there was darkness. Then He said, I want light, the opposite of darkness. In the beginning, there was no motion. Then He started motion from motionless space. Then there was chaos, and He ordered order out of chaos. Think over to God. He deals with opposites. We need to analyze as deeply as we can the sickness of alcoholism, the sickness of drug dependency. Oh, the scholars today call it a disease. They don't want to say it's the loss of will. They say it's a disease. They think they can deal with it better by calling it a disease. I would prefer to say it is a symptom of disease. Drug dependency, alcohol dependency, the dependency that men and women find in excessive food, excessive sex, is all trying to find pleasure to get away from pain. Listen, it is a symptom of something deep and disturbing within the psyche of the human being. And until and unless we deal with what drug dependency and alcohol dependency and obesity and sexual promiscuity is the symptom of, then you will look at the whore and condemn her. You will look at the person who cannot stay at home but has to find another woman or another man to satisfy this sick need for more and more pleasure, but never is satisfied because it is not just the chemical imbalance. It is something wrong that medical science and psychologists and psychiatrists are not really dealing with. Because if the medical profession and the psychiatrists and the psychologists actually deal with the problem, then the whole world, the whole society has to be reordered. And this is why when Christ comes, He says, behold, I make all things new. I got to make it all new because it can't be built on opposites anymore. I have found the weakness in the creation of the originator. It was not perfect in the beginning because the knowledge that produced it was not a perfect knowledge. Oh, Brother Farrakhan, what are you saying? Are you saying that God in the beginning was imperfect? That's exactly what I'm saying. He didn't create a perfect world, did He? He created a world and he put it on a path toward perfection because that was his original desire. He wanted perfection, and this is why he's called Rabbil Alameen, the Lord, nourisher, sustainer, and evolver of all of the worlds toward their eventual perfection. And this is why we start off as sperm, imperfect but perfect in that form, in that stage. Then we grow to a clot, then an embryo, then a fetus, then a child, still complete yet incomplete, still evolving, still trying to move on to the goal that God has intended, and that is perfection. I asked the Honorable Elijah Muhammad one day, I said, "Dear Apostle, the Quran asks the question, do you find any crookedness in the God?" And I said, "Dear Apostle, he created the earth with a wobble in it. You look at the earth, she's not perfectly round. Is that right? And by the earth's not being perfectly round, being oblong or egg-shaped, she doesn't revolve with a pure, smooth motion. Is that right? But you don't feel no wobble. Ain't that heavy? God is a master at solving problems. Just bear with me. Hang out with me a minute today. Y'all all right? Yes, sir. Listen, trying to follow me now. As you have heard me say before, that if you have an imbalance in your tire, don't you feel it in the ride? Yes, sir. Doesn't the steering wheel shake? You sit down, you're not as comfortable when the tires are not balanced. Is that right? Where there's an imbalance or wobble, you feel it. Well, the earth is created in an egg shape. And there is nothing that God created that is perfectly round. The universe itself is not a perfect circle. Is that right? Neither the sun, nor the moon, nor the stars, nor any planet. And you can't draw a perfect circle. It's not even in your nature to draw it perfect. You got to get you an instrument. Because freehand, you can't do it. The wobble will come out in your freehand. Oh, yeah, because in your nature, you got the wobble. Yes, sir. Oh, yes. Even though you're born to conquer the wobble, you got it in your nature. So the way God compensates for the wobble and the planet's leaning 23 degrees, 30 minutes to the plane of its orbit, and as she makes a motion, she makes dips in and out, and those dips in and out, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us, gives us the changes in our seasons. It's not a smooth motion, but you don't feel nothing. This is the smoothest ride. I mean, you get up in a 747, you say, that white man is bad. And that 747 is a mean plane, brother. She just goes on down the highway, the runway. And when she takes off, she's just smooth. And when she gets on up 40,000 feet in the air, until she hits turbulence. And brother, when that hits some turbulence, you begin to call on whoever you know to help you out, brother, because you too far up. And if that bad boy come down, we're all in trouble. So everybody takes away to their Lord immediately. You better say all us devils. Because we get to him too. Yeah. Let me just say this. Sisters and brothers, look. The smooth ride that we're on. I mean, this earth is so magnificent. She's traveling 1,037 and a third miles per hour. Check it out. That's some heavy speed, brother. You don't hear nothing. You don't feel nothing. But she's moving. She moves you into the sun, and she keeps on stepping and then moves you into the shadow of the earth, and you call that night. You didn't even realize you was moving. You slept last night just as calm as a baby in the womb. It was a smooth ride. God gave you a firm resting place until he shakes it. Then everybody gets upset when he shakes the earth. You know that the earth ain't supposed to be shaken, because you depend on the earth when you walk. But if you've ever been in an earthquake, brother, that's a horrible feeling, man. That thing go to rocking, man. And I mean, you get frightened because the earth is not supposed to shake like that. You follow me? God has compensated for the earth's wobble by creating her to obey a law. And as long as she follows the law of light, the wobble in her motion produces a minimal amount of friction, which will ultimately wear away the planet. So the scholars say that the sun is dying, and one day it will go out. And if the sun goes out, all of this folds up. But the God said there'll be a new heaven and a new earth. Why you got to make it new? If this was perfect, you can't improve on perfection. Talk to me. See, when white folk make a new product, they say new and improved ivory. New and improved does or dove or whatever you use. If it was perfect, you leave it alone. If it ain't wrong, don't fix it. But the God today sees imperfection. So he says, I make all things new. Now, I want to look at nature. I want to look at what it is in us that there are so many good fathers that produce sons that are the opposite of themselves. You look in the Bible and in the Quran, it doesn't talk so much about daughters that go away from prophets and oppose them, though there have been those. But it highlights sons of righteous men that become enemies of the righteousness of their fathers. Brothers from the womb of a righteous mother, but they become enemies of each other because one wants right and the other wants to go astray. What is it that produces this? Have you ever thought about it? I want you to just follow me now. I'm not going to be too long. I just want to hit a few points here to come back to drugs and tie it together. Why does the scripture say two will be in the same bed? But I'm going to take one and leave the other. Why did the scripture say they of a man's own household will be his worst enemies? Why did Elijah Muhammad, going in a direction for the salvation of his people, produce one who took the people opposite the way of that father? What happens? Is it a condemnation of the father? Is it that the father is no good? Let's see. How come so many good people produce children that are no good? Why is passing power on from a father to a son maybe not the best way? Because the son may not have nothing in his mind like the father, only have the blood of the father. He may have a look like his father, but is as contrary to the father as night is from day. Why then should something be given to the son? Because he is the son rather than because he's worthy. Talking about families now. I want to get into your family, my family, our families. I wanted to get into Muhammad's family. I want to get into God and his family. Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
All of our problems in life are not dealing with drugs or alcohol. Our problems deal with relationships that don't give us joy and pleasure. Our problem is not the problem of drugs or alcohol, it's the problem of relationship. You're not born into the world to be alone. None of us. We are born to relate to others. And it is in improper relationships, sick relationships, relationships that are based on tainted, sick desires. I just want you to reason with me today. And I want you to look at your life as I look at mine. Because every one of us is sick to a degree because of relationships that were not good either with the mother, with the father, with your sister, with your brother, with your teacher, with your friends, with your wife, with your husband. It's improper relationships that give us no pleasure in life. An improper relationship means that there's a lack of communication. We don't know how to relate. We don't know how to communicate. And all relationship is based upon communication. Let's talk. I want you to look at your mother as I look at mine. I want you to look at your father as I look at mine. I want you to look at the nature of the circumstances of our life in America and the relationship that we've had to white people, to the government, to the society, to its institutions. Our problem is a problem of relationships. Wrongly established, wrongly motivated. Let's go to our nature now. Thank you, Allah. Our nature is, please listen, that we have a need to be made secure. Since we come into the world weak and not strong, ignorant and not wise, helpless and not able to help ourselves, then we need a relationship that makes us feel secure. Listen, please, just follow me and bear with me. I know it's hot in here. I just want to get this out of me. And this didn't come from reading no books. It's come from reading people who is the creation of God and being guided by Allah through what you read and see. Please follow me now. Since we are created in need, then we are created insecure. Not just me, you. All of us come into the world feeling unsafe, a need to be made secure. Now follow me. When you were a sperm, there was a relationship. Sperm to the testicle. In that relationship, you were secure as a sperm. You produced an egg. The egg had a place, the ovary, where it nurtured or matured, developed, and once a month the egg was released because it was time. Released from that place of security to begin a journey possibly to become a cell of life needing security. So when you were emitted first as an egg and a sperm from your secure resting place, then you were traveling looking to find that which would create life and finding security. If there is no sperm, then the egg passes in the flow of the blood and that cycle is repeated again. Is that right? Now listen. When the sperm is present and contacts the egg and the first cell of life is produced, that cell of life needs to be made secure. So Allah says, I can secure only if I can properly relate you to the womb. So that cell finds, as the Quran says, a firm resting place in the womb. And it holds on, it grips into the fiber of the muscle in the womb. Because if it's a good relationship is not established between that newly fertilized egg and the womb, then the life is aborted. Is that right? And what we have today is aborted life. Not life that is evolving toward God in a structured way, but our life is an aborted life because of relationships that have never been proper. Look now, you had a proper relationship in the womb. That's why you're here. Are you listening to me? You had a good relationship. You were no test tube baby. Is that right? I didn't think so. In that womb now, because of that relationship, the need of that newly fertilized egg was met by the food that the mother intook. Not that the mother was even conscious that something down there had a need, but a God who knew all things had ordained this and created the law. That's why I want to say to every brother, every sister, how dare you think that you can make it in this world? How dare you crumble under the weight of some oppression or some problem or some run-out mate or somebody rejected you and you crying in the night and feel that you can't make it? How dare you think like that? How dare you think that because your husband is in jail or your wife is away or your husband is in Germany in the war that you can't hold on till he gets home? How dare you think that way? Because he wasn't there when you were just a fertilized egg. Nor was she there, brother, when you were a fertilized egg, but God was present in the darkness of the womb with you alone. So whenever you got a problem and you can't find no help nowhere, I'm telling you, the first relationship and the only relationship that must be firmly established, then all relationships come from that. You got to have a relationship with the God who created your life, or you have nothing at all to hold on to. Now, mama, blessed mama, she's God's divine agent. Every woman is a blessed creature. Brothers. The world is just messed up because of this chauvinist attitude of men. Woman can't tell me nothing. What the hell you mean? I don't understand that. You wouldn't be here if she didn't make you. So don't you think if she can't make you, she can't teach you? If she made you, she can help you. If she made you, she can teach you. If she made you, she can lead you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Come on. That's right.
Yes, sir.
Chauvinism has no place in the world of God, but religion has destroyed women.
That's right.
Islam, Christianity,
That's right.
Buddhism, Judaism put women down and use the books of God to do it. Misunderstanding of the word. Sisters, there's not a woman born that isn't a blessed creature. You're born blessed, you just become cursed by circumstances. You're an agent of God in the whole process of regenerating human life, recreating it over and over again, making it better and better. You are God's agent of evolutionary process until a woman is born to produce the perfect child. To start a perfect world, it's going to come through a woman. Y'all all right? Follow me now. But let's look at our relationship with our mother. That's been a pretty bad thing. Not saying that our mothers are not trying, our mothers don't mean well. Our mothers don't know enough. In fact, the women of the world don't know themselves. So if you don't know who you are in relationship to God, then you can't do your job properly as God's divine agent in the building and making and nurturing of human life. May I tell you something? That little baby that was developed and is developing now in your blessed womb, you're not cursed because you're having a baby. You're a blessed woman. And your baby hopefully will be a blessing to you and to the world if it pleases God, but more if it pleases you. Because you have a lot to do with what's coming. Let's talk about these relationships. While that baby is forming in the womb, God has made it relate to water, relate to temperature. It feels comfortable in the womb. It's a nice relationship. It's a beautiful relationship until a certain time. Then God says to the new life, you got to move on. It begins to outgrow the womb. So it begins to be agitated in the womb. And its motion picks up and it starts to kick and move. And then its head turns down because it now must push on the pelvic bone to open the way for the shoulders and the body to come forth. The doctor is not the deliverer. The doctor is not the deliverer. God is the deliverer. Allah says, I formed you in your mother's womb. I allowed you to come to terms. I brought you forward. So if the doctor had a hand in it, know that there's a hand over his hand. And the baby, whether you know it or not, is working for its own deliverance. The baby's in pain. His head is beating up against bone, pushing on the bone. God is making the bone softer and the head harder to come forward. And that's why babies look so old and beat when they come out, because they came through pain to get here. I don't know how these mothers can say, oh, he's so cute. But go ahead, mama, help yourself. Most of these babies that I see in the first hour, they ugly, bro. And I mean, their faces are all screwed up. You see a frown on their face. You say, what he frowning about? That baby been through hell trying to get here. And God helped it to get here when you couldn't. You in there, and the doctor and your husband and your friends saying, push. And you said, but I can't push. You pushing, and don't you think that baby ain't pushing too? You said it was a nice relationship, but I gotta move on. I seek refuge in the Lord of men, the King of men, the God of men. See, you gotta move on. And after that baby comes out, it comes out into a temperature that ain't like the womb. It ain't as comfortable as the womb. It's air now, not water. It's away from the temperature of the body. The baby needs to be made secure. Secure. Security is your breast. That's the baby's security. But you, immediately, foolish woman, or hard-working woman, who has to make a decision. It's either my breast or nothing, because I got to go to work. So before the baby is secured on your breast, with the warmth of your body resembling the warmth of your womb, that baby needs that cuddling. It needs that warmth. It needs that presence. It needs that sucking. And you need it too. Because the baby, you are not only helping the baby, but the baby is helping you to come back to health. But this world interferes with nature. This world interferes with relationships. So the relationship between the child and the mother is broken almost immediately. So the baby feels what? Insecure. You don't feel too good either, working mother, because you at the job thinking about your baby. How's my baby? Being fed Similac. Good God Almighty. Here, God bless your breasts with the best food. You put your baby on a chemical formula made by some cracker without absolute knowledge of nothing. You put your baby on a chemical formula. Put your baby on soy bean milk. Put your baby on a cow's udder so that you can get back to form quickly, because in this world my body is my business. So the baby doesn't have a good relationship. It has an effect on the child's mind, has an effect on the way the child grows. Did you hear me? It makes the child irritable. See? You can comfort that baby like nothing. You say, I done fed the baby. Where did you feed it? I done changed my baby. He's dry. What the hell is he making all this noise for? Boy, shut up. Shut up, damn it. Mop, 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 mop. You become an abusive parent now because you don't understand your child is insecure. And your child needs you, but you have to go to work because there ain't no man working to help you. So you got to work. So you push your baby into a cold crib and you give it a bottle that resembles the nipple. And that's why you got a child that resembles a human being. Ain't no father around half the time. So you can't be contented, mother, even when you're feeding it from your breast. You so messed up in your head. Till the chemical imbalance of your own thoughts feeds the baby. And the baby is irritable because you're irritable. You're not at peace, so you can't feed peace. Yeah. Broken relationship. Now, when the children grow up in the family, you see, a baby is coming, one baby out, another baby in. So the mother's upset because she had a diaphragm on. I ain't getting too personal. I'm just hitting these points that people don't want to talk about. So when you find out you're pregnant and you had an intrauterine device and it didn't work, now you're really upset. You're upset with the man. You're upset with yourself. You're upset with life. So the baby that you have, who still needs nurturing, is pushed off now. If you don't abort what you got, in you and you produce it, now you got two. The first one was not properly nourished. Now the second one comes, and the first one is sort of jealous of the second one, and the relationships is bad now between the baby and the mother. Ain't no relationship with the father, and now the two babies don't get along. Because you never knew how to include the second baby or the first baby into the birth of the second. White women today bringing the dogs around the table so that the dog don't feel put out when the new baby comes. And you don't know how to make a second child relate to the first child, because automatically sometime when the father of the second child ain't the father of the first child, and the father of the third child is not the father of the second or the first, you done started off messed up already. No relationship. You're not related properly. The baby's not related properly. Born into a world that don't want black no way. So we can't relate to the mother. I'm going to talk about myself. Because, see, I like to use myself as an example. Because unless you're willing to face yourself, you can't help nobody else. Unless you're willing to analyze yourself and stop lying to yourself, then you're not able to help nobody else. You have become so weak and so wicked and so perverse that you delude your own mind, you lie to yourself, and therefore you can't even recognize truth anymore. You become devils because you're afraid to face the reality of your own self. Let me point something out. Y'all all right? Walk with me a little ways. Just a little more. And you know, when you hear things like this that you never heard before, thank Allah. You know, don't look too much at Farrakhan. You know, but thank Allah that there's a man somewhere.
That's right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That God can teach to teach you.
Yes. Yes, sir.
My mother told me that when I was conceived, she tried to abort me. So that is rejection. I was rejected from the womb. Many of you came as accidents. Mama didn't want you. Father didn't want you. Either they were too afraid to abort you or they tried and it didn't work, because in those days when you were young there were no abortion clinics. You had to get it round the back door or somebody's office with an old hanger, coat hanger, something that they would inject. And some women died trying to abort life, not knowing what was in the womb. Is that right? You reject life. You don't want life. You don't know life. You don't understand life. So when life is in you, instead of cradling life, adoring life, wanting life, nurturing life, thanking God for life, you want to kill life and wonder why life is killing you. You don't know how to live. You're dying every day, don't know how to live because you're not akin to life. Bad relationship with life. You got a bad relationship to the God, a bad relationship to the earth, a bad relationship to the sun, a bad relationship to the water, to the plants. You're not related well to nature because you follow one who is unrelated. Oh, Allah, help me to get through this. Listen, my mother didn't want me. But after she tried to abort me several times and it failed, she said, I'll go on and have him. She didn't know what I was, but she was hoping I was a girl. Some women, for whatever their reasons, they're not trying to have life and have it healthy. They want this or that, which is natural, because you're trying to please somebody else outside the womb. Some of you, your mothers wanted a boy. And when she saw you come forth as a girl, she rejected you. You think the baby don't feel that? You think the baby don't feel that? Put the baby on your breast and you don't want it there, it feels it. It may not be able to discern what it feels, but it knows rejection. And later on in life, you're going to come to face that baby coming up, rejecting life. You're not bonded to your children, and your children are not bonded to you. You have a sick bond with your children, and your children got a sick bond to you. They are more bonded to the world because you took them from your breast and you gave them to the world. And now you wonder why the world got a stronger hold on your babies than the mother, the father, or anybody else. You're too busy for the children. You're partying too much. You finger popping too heavy. You're in the disco too much, in the bar too much, chasing what? Chasing what you want out of life. You want pleasure, but you got pain, and you want relief from the pain. So the baby is pain. To remember you got a baby from a nigga that didn't love you. But you out in the world partying to get another one from somebody else that don't love you. Sick relationships. And since the woman is not connected to the man, she disconnects the child from the father. Almost immediately, you got babies, some of you ain't never seen them. Some of you brothers in here got babies. You don't give a damn whether them babies have a bowl of soup. I don't know how you could do this, brother, except you've been dehumanized to the point where you are lower than an animal. Because now you produce life. Life is here. It looked like you is from you, and you know damn well it's yours. But you would think more of giving your money to the crack dealer, giving your money to the cocaine dealer, giving your money to the whore on the street corner, rather than sending $1 to feed your babies. So the mother who don't get no support, she disconnects, pulls the plug on the father. So the children ain't got no relationship to you. And they got a halfway relationship with their mother. Now my mother, she was a faithful one. But I didn't understand her. My mother knew that the man was not proper. She was a strong woman. And ain't a man she ever met in life that could handle her, could think like her. She was sharp. She was aggressive. She was not lazy. She could outthink 99.9% of the men around. And she's that way today. On her deathbed, she's thinking. That's right. Yeah. She was a wonderful mother, but I didn't understand her. I learned that her own mother, when her mother saw that she had a vagina instead of a penis, her mother didn't want her. She knew rejection. And when you're rejected, you seek love where you think you can find it. Because all your life you want somebody to love you, black woman.
That's right.
And that's your trap, that's your pain, that's your misery. You want love, but you don't want to find it where it really is. It is in God, not in him. It is in God, not in him. And that's why women are in the church and they fill the church up. And they jump and shout and run. You think your wife done went crazy. No. She said, only Jesus cares. Only Jesus knows my trouble. I can't connect to nothing around me. Let me find it in Jesus. Oh, it's something, sister. You're trying to get there, but your relationship, even with Jesus, is a sick relationship. You can't help it because you're sick. I'm sick. We sick. The world is sick. Now let me go back to my mom. There was no man in my house to take care of us. And I ain't never seen no man in no bed with my mother. Never. Never. I didn't have to go looking for my mother. My mother would have to come looking for me. And if she looked too long when she found me, I understood not to have her come looking anymore. I have a strong black mother. But I didn't understand. You see, my mother had to work, so she couldn't nurture me, cuddle me. She couldn't give me that love that I know my soul needed. I didn't have the right relationship with my mother. So there was a need in me, unfulfilled. I never went to bed hungry. My mother sometimes only had 10 or 15 cents. But I didn't know she didn't have $1,000 because she knew how to take nothing and make something out of it. When it was cold outside, she made sure there was oil in the house, in the heater, and early in the morning, I never got up and saw my mother in the bed. Whenever I got up, she was already up. She had my underwear already cleaned and ironed, and she would put them over the stove so that it would be warm, so in the coldness of the house, I wouldn't have to put on cold underwear. She was busy over the stove making me a full breakfast, no little jive. Here's a little nasty sandwich, but the woman knew whatever she knew of health, and she didn't know proper food, but she knew this, that her children had to have good, solid meals. Hell yes, love. But what child knows that kind of love when you've been separated from the breast and you haven't been cuddled enough to be secure psychologically? This is why these children are so psychologically damaged, because they never had a proper nurturing and relationship and a weaning with their mothers. You produce the chemical imbalance by not nursing. Not for 2 months and let it go. But the Quran says the weaning is for 2 years. Not as long as you can. Well, you can nurse them till they're 10 if you want. And some of these will stay on the breast until they're 10, and some of them want to stay on it now at 40. Excuse me. Any resemblance to any persons, you know what I mean, living or dead, is certainly not a coincidence. Shall we move on now? And where was I? Oh, I know where I was. I'm moving away from there as quickly as possible. No. And so, beloved, in my home, I needed that. I needed that cuddling. I needed that warmth. So I grew up thinking that my mom didn't love me because I didn't relate the warm clothes, the clean bed, the 3 meals a day, and working to put me and my brother into music. I didn't relate that to love because I was too immature to understand the depth and the breadth of love, so I thought my mom didn't love me. And how many of you have come up in your house thinking that your own mother didn't love you, even when she did, and sometimes you begin to feel she didn't love you and you had reason. I thought I had a reason. My brother is real dark. Here's my brother. Stand up, Brother Alvin. This is my brother. He's really my half-brother because his father is not my father. But my mother never allowed us to think of 2 different men. We were one in her. But since neither his father nor my father sent her a dime, she pulled the plug on both of them for us. Huh? Now my brother is dark and my mom is dark. I'm light, as you can see. But then I begin to think my mom liked him more because he was more her color. And he began to think she liked me more because I was light. So all the while growing up, he and I, as brothers, never related right. Our relationship was not good. Because when she would leave, I mean, he had a chance then to whoop the hell out of me. To work off some of that frustration, you know what I mean? And since I couldn't whip him, all I could do was go to God. And as a little boy, see, I had a relationship with God. And that's what has been my strength all my life. If I didn't think my mom loved me, I didn't think my brother loved me, I didn't have nobody else in the family, I had to find somewhere to relate because I didn't think that I had the wonderful brother that I now know I have. And I didn't think I had the wonderful mother that I now know that I have. But I was going through that trauma. How many of you went through trauma like that as a young person? Because of your color, you think your mother liked this one more because that one's lighter or this one's darker and this and that and the other. And because of color, man, you don't have a good relationship with your sister or with your brother. And then maybe there's 2 fathers and one father would come by. And he would relate only to the one that he's related to. And your father wouldn't come by, wouldn't call. So that would make the other one that got a father come by and brought him some shoes. He would wear them shoes real funny around you. Then you'd want to stomp him and throw the shoes out the window. So you all got to hate each other because of improper relationships. Over needs unfulfilled, over pain. Lord, have mercy. And then when you put that into the sick environment of a sex-crazed world where people don't know what a woman is, they think a woman is something to play with because she gives man pleasure at a certain stage of her development. But there's pleasure in her for man that man has never found because he's never matured enough to know how to call it. And so he's unfulfilled in his relationship with you. You married right now and unhappy. You've been with your husband 10 years and you wish to hell you could get away from it, but you ain't got no other. I mean, you know, you looking at other men, but what the hell? Oh, I might as well stick here for the children's sake. And he feel the same way about you. Don't kid yourself. I'm getting the hell out of this. That's why it's called honeymoon, and it don't last long. The honey hardly falls over the moon before that thing is over, brother. Y'all all right? Well, maybe I should try to move as quickly through this as possible, because I didn't write any notes on what God was showing me, but I wanted to tell you something to help you to see yourself by looking at me.
Yes, sir.
Children want to please their parents because their world first is their parents, not God. They learn God through their parents. So their first world is their parents, and if that relationship is not secure, you've damaged the child. Is that right? My mother gave me the violin when I was 5 years old, my brother the piano. I didn't know when she gave me the violin. I was a little boy, 5.5 years old, so I couldn't reject the violin, you know. But even at that age, you know, I heard that violin is for sissies. And I didn't want to be linked to that kind of thing, you know. But mom was so strong, you know, and she used that stick with regularity. So I had to go on to the teacher and learn to play this violin. But when I began to play it, I got so much satisfaction from it that I found a reason to live. I found a way to be loved. A way to be loved. Are you listening to me? Any resemblance, brothers and sisters, I'm trying to help you to deal with you. Because the problem ain't nowhere else. Your problem ain't with nobody else. It's now with you. Mine is with me. And we got to fix up these relationships. Starting first with self and a relationship now to our Creator. That's number one. Okay? Now listen to this. When I would go out to play my violin, my brother accompanied me on the piano, people would come from miles around to hear us play. I mean, we were really good. And naturally, I'm looking for Mom. I'm playing. I've been practicing all week with that stick over my head. Now I'm playing. I'm looking to see if Mom is going to show me approval. My mother's this kind of woman. She don't care who hollers. She sat with her arms folded with a little smile on her face. She was proud inside, but she didn't know how. Because of the way she was reared, she didn't know psychology. She didn't know the workings of the mind. She didn't know none of that. So she didn't know how to smile and let me know, my son, I'm proud of you, boy. So I didn't care how many other people was hollering and applauding. I'm looking for Mama. But Mama wasn't applauding. It's like you did something wrong, see? So I go back home, she had a stick waiting. All right, boy, get up there and make it perfect. So I play some more. By the time I got to be 10, 11, 12, I was playing so well. Now I didn't need anybody to tell me to practice. I would practice 4, 5, 6 hours a day. Now I'm getting into this thing because I found my reason for existence. I was fast as lightning and on track. But Mama didn't care too much about sports, so she never came to see me run. See, I'm looking for approval. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I want approval. I want to know that I'm loved. I want to know that I'm all right. But if I can't get it from my mother, then I got to look elsewhere. So when I met my boys, me and my boys hung out. And that's why you can't get your children away from the boy on the corner or the girl around the block, because she's giving them something that they never found at home. She's giving them a relationship. The gang is giving them a relationship that makes them feel secure. And when you try to break it up, you're trying to break up that which gives your young son or your daughter a reason for feeling I belong somewhere, even if I don't belong here. Ain't that something? And you're like my mother. You don't know nothing about the workings of the mind. My mother's a perfectionist. She was a clean woman. She was so orderly, so organized. She knew where everything was. I don't know right now how much money's in my pocket. My mother knew how much money was in her change purse, how much money was in the pocket, how many pennies she had. I couldn't rip her off of a penny. And you know, children, they slip into their mama's purses when they... Didn't you do it, brothers? Maybe there wasn't nothing there, but, my mom had a few pennies in there. You could get so much for a penny in those days. Maybe if you took some money today, it would definitely come up missing. But we could buy so much candy for a penny, brother. We would lay in the candy store, but Mom was too clever. She would put cookies in the jar, and she would know how many cookies was in the jar. So if she came back and told us, don't touch the cookies, we would eat the cookies and fluff up the jar thinking Mama would know. Mom would beat the hell out of us that night, boy, 'cause she knew the cookies in the jar, brother. Why am I saying all of that? You see, when you need love, when you need cuddling, when you need approval, you're put at a disadvantage. Because depending on where you find it, could be your destruction. If you find your security in a gang that's going nowhere, then they suck you in because you couldn't find security at home. If you find it in girls that are not doing right, not wishing to go right, even if there's right in you, but your peer pressure is so strong, then they could lead you off in a direction that you may never recover from. But you see, my mother, by giving me music and watching my relationships with others, and I got to relate to this wood. So tough till I'd beat your brains out if you touch my instrument. That was my life now. Don't separate me from this, because this is my reason to live. Do you understand what I'm saying? When my mom would say, Gene, they call me Gene, mop the floor, do this and do that. I would mop, I would do the best I could. But her eye is so sharp. She comes in. She spots that corner that I missed. She don't tell me about all this that I did right. She go immediately to what I didn't do and say, did you see this corner? Did you see that? Well, no, Ma, I was just... Well, boy, get in that corner and clean the corner. The thing ain't ready, the thing ain't right if it ain't clean. So, when you don't tell the child what it did good, and then help it to see what it missed, you got to build them up before you tear them down. But if you've been torn down all your life by your mother, what do you know to do for your children but tear them down? And as black people, you don't know how to rear no children. You don't know how to make and rear children, black woman. You know how to have sex and produce a monster, but to make a child for God, you don't know that. I don't give a damn if you got a doctorate degree hanging off your neck. You don't know how to make no child. And that's why the Muslim girls training And general civilization class is a must for every black woman, whether you have a doctorate degree or know nothing. Somebody got to teach you, black woman, because you don't know what you're doing. With all your knowledge, you don't know. And if you want to know better, let God instruct you how to do it now. I'm almost finished. A need for approval. Do you know what that means? That means that when you tear your child down at every little thing that it attempts to do, you don't know how to build them up. But every time you point out it's wrong, you're crushing what they call ego. But it's not ego. It's really the God on the inside of you that needs evolving and developing, so that the child becomes so insecure it cannot take critical analysis anymore. And most of you right now, you can't take criticism. You get so upset if your dress ain't right. I'm telling you, sisters. I'm telling you, brothers. It's like somebody persecuting you. If they tell you, sister, your headpiece is worn wrong. Well, why? I got to wear it like that. And you say, I would come to the temple, but y'all make me sick. It ain't y'all make me sick. It is that you can't take no kind of critical analysis. You can't take reform. You don't want nobody to tell you, because you're so insecure that if they just approach you with criticism, your heart starts beating like you're getting in a fight. You know how I know that? That's the way I was. Somebody go to criticize me, my heart start pounding. Thought my heart gonna jump out my chest. I paralyzed. You know what I mean? What I do? Well, see, it's because of an improper relationship. You know where I found my peace? I found peace with prostitutes. Not sexually. I'm talking about women who had been in the world and knew the world and saw in me what I didn't see in myself. And them prostitutes took me under their wing when I was in show business, and they didn't try to get in no bed with me. They were schooling me. That's why today, give me all the whores in the world, because I know what to do with a woman now. I'm telling you, man, I had women who were cocktail waitresses who taught me about life, because I couldn't talk to my mother about life. I mean, she was way over here. And to talk to mom about the things that you're beginning to feel and as you mature, hey, but the prostitute, she could talk. And I found that even in the low-life, so-called low-life women, when my friends saw me excelling and became envious, I wouldn't go to my mother and talk about it. I would go to these kind of women, and they would tell me, well, Gene said they talked about Jesus. Yes. Yes. Wow. So you can't go through life, honey, without expecting some of that for yourself. A sailor would come to the door and she would go on out with the sailor, but she left something with me. She may be dead and gone now, but she left something with me. And that's why today, brother, I ain't no talker for no Muslim. I am a champion for black people wherever they are and in whatever condition they're in. Let me tell you something. In that world of show business, see, in the world of show business, faggots pay attention to you. That's right. See? And they would come, they liked me because I was a beautiful young man. But I wasn't into that. But they were interested in me. They'd offer me drugs, I would turn that down, but I learned from them. Why did God put them in my life? So that one day I would come back and heal a community of them. You understand? Because all of our people are in bad shape. All of our people are sick. Only you got these highfalutin, self-righteous hypocrites in the church that the bread, the wafer hardly melts in their mouth and the wine hardly gets down their throat. They are so holy. But I found more holiness with prostitutes. I found more holiness with those that the Word of God condemns than I find in these so-called self-righteous hypocrites. And as it was then, it's the same way today. I'm talking about relationships. I'm almost finished. That part of it. Don't you know when I got into show business and found people applauding me? That was food for my soul. That's why Michael Jordan will give his life to basketball, because that's his reason for living. He's black in a white man's world. Don't nobody love no black children. But that's a black man who can do it better than anybody has ever done it. And because the world knows he's great at that, he finds in the basketball what he couldn't find in mama. He couldn't find in dad. And he couldn't find in the world. So he's closer to the basketball than to mama. If you try to take that ball from him, you have trouble on your hands. Try to take that ball from Peyton, you got trouble on your hands. Try to take singing from Freddie Jackson, you got trouble on your hands. Try to take the piano and a song from Stevie Wonder, you got trouble on your hands. Because the music is what allowed us to feel our worth when we should have gotten that from our mother. Do you follow? So look at your relationships filled with tainted love. Why did you marry the woman you married, brother? Why you go with the girl you go with now? Something you want out of her. I love you, baby. I love you, baby. But don't let her come up short. Why are you going with that man you're going with? And why you married the man that you married? You have a need. You want to be wanted. So any story will do. How you doing, baby? I love you. Don't you want to hear those words? You are so beautiful. Don't you want to hear them words? Baby, I don't know what I'd do without you. Don't you want to hear those words? And they drop them words on you. You the sunshine of my life, baby. Go on, honey, talk to me. Look at you. I mean, you sick as hell. Let me tell you something. I went to see Freddie Jackson one day. Freddie started singing, love. I need your love. And the sisters started, wow. They run all down in front of the stage. I'm sitting there watching. Freddie dressed in his white suit and it's just glittering in him. And he going out to him, I need your love. And then he went to, and the sister just hollered and screamed and went on. I said, look at this. I said, but the sickness in you is because you really want to be needed. And you want to be wanted. You want to be loved. You want somebody to appreciate you. So you go out of your way and hurt yourself to get what you think you need, when what you really need is to find your relationship with God. And now I'd like to conclude this Sunday. I could stretch this out to school, to church, to society. We don't relate well to nothing. And as a result, it is difficult to make us brothers. Now, I want to read something from the Quran to you. In Surah 64, verse 2, Allah says, He it is who created you. But one of you is a believer and one is a disbeliever. And Allah is a seer of what you do. Now think about that. God creates you, but one of you believes in God and the other disbelieves. How could that be? God, why did you do that? Why? God says, I created life. And every life form that I create an enemy for that form. I create a rose, and I create a weed, and I create a husbandman to pull up the weed that the rose might live. But if there's no husbandman to take care of the vineyard, then the weed will choke the rose. I created an enemy for all living things. Allah says in the Quran to Muhammad, I have created an enemy, or made an enemy for you in every town, but I control them. He is his own servant. He created enemies for his servant. There never was a prophet that came on the earth that didn't have enemies that sought to kill the prophet. Is that right? Right. Why does God do that? He always pits light against darkness and darkness against light. He pits hatred against love and love against hatred. He pits right against wrong and truth against falsehood. He keeps the communities upside down because that's the way we move toward perfection. Y'all all right? Now, Elijah Muhammad was a good man in our midst. What made Wallace, his son, so contrary to his father? See? I've got 9 children. I believe that my children are with me. But they have not always accepted the life that I've devoted my life to. Why? Why? I want to take a look in concluding at 3 sons of 3 fathers. And I want to take a look at the law that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Adam was made by God, and God breathed into Adam. You would think that Adam would be pure. But in Adam is the same capacity to sin that is in every human being. Therefore, every human being is born into the world to struggle. When babies die, we automatically think that the baby should go to heaven because the baby is innocent. Right? And they picture heaven full of babies. But the baby ain't worthy to go to heaven. Boy, what did I say? I know my baby's in heaven. No, your baby's in the earth. Heaven is not made for those who don't struggle. Babies don't struggle in the way that God allows us to struggle. Let me give you an example. You got a baby? I want you to look at your babies now. If you don't have them here with you, when you go home, study them. That baby is born a natural creature of the earth. It has to grow to be a creature of heaven. Think about what I just said. The baby has the gift of God's own life in it, but that has to be evolved, that has to be nurtured, that has to be developed, and that only develops with struggle against the forces of the earth. So the Quran says, I created you impatient. All babies are impatient. But God demands of the righteous patience. So patience ain't something you get at birth. Patience is something you develop with struggle with yourself. Watch a baby. Don't feed it when it wants the bottle or the breast. Watch it. Cry. Watch now. That's the first cry. You didn't come then. And then that baby will cry in a way where the whole face will become inflamed with redness, showing you the baby is angry now. It's a creature of the earth. It wants gratification now. You understand? Anger comes up. If the baby could talk, only God knows what it would call you. Is that right? The baby defecates on itself. The baby urinates on itself. Why? It hasn't learned control. So it's got to get control of itself. Throughout the development of its life, it's got to struggle to get control, struggle to pull up, struggle for balance, struggle to walk. This is the baby's struggle. But the moral struggle that makes you into paradise is not a baby's struggle. It is the struggle that when you learn what is right and the nature of right that is in you says this is wrong, then you're put in a struggle with right against wrong and wrong against right. And when you're able to make the right choice and overcome the low passions, now you're making yourself worthy of what God calls paradise. Do you understand? So when God takes a child, the child is innocent. The child has not come into the world and gotten into the struggle that qualifies one to see the kingdom of God. So the child comes in and passes out, giving each of us lessons. A young man that's here today with me had a son that died recently at 10 months old. I had a talk with his wife a few days ago. What a painful thing to lose a child. But the child came for a short while. And the child came to teach the mother and the father something about life. The child had been in pain from its inception, to tell the mother and the father, stop crying over pain. The child had been in a struggle for its life, and it struggled to keep life, but finally had to give it up to tell the parent, stop giving up. Struggle on. That's what the little boy was teaching the parent. And then God took the child, but he left the lesson. But who can read? Who will study? See? I'm almost finished. Listen now, this is critical. When nature calls on a human being to come into the world to correct wrong, to strive for justice, hear me, that person is so single-minded when it knows itself and its mission, it cannot see relationship other than a relationship to its mission and not say, you're my son. I want you to hear me well. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Noah came into the world. He came into the world to preach righteousness. And he preached it for 150 years. And in his preaching, he produced a son that was the very opposite of his preaching. Why? Because in his being centered on his mission, there was some neglect in the relationship with the son. The son not knowing, not being able to look at the father and understand that the man is born to do what he's doing, and he's going down a road, he's making a sacrifice of his life and a sacrifice of his son and a sacrifice of his family because there's something bigger than you in this world. I can't be home nursing no baby. I got a world in front of me. A man born to do something, when he finds out what he's born to do, he's gone. And the only way you can relate to him is you got to relate to what he's born to do. And that's what disconnects the relationship. See, if the wife don't understand the depth of the mission so she can relate that to the child, then the child loses a connection to the father. I'm just going after this thing just like how God has helped me to see it. And you're producing an equal and opposite reaction because the child does not think that the father cares for the child. It's like the child cares for this God and this mission more than you care for me. See, children are selfish. Children are self-centered. They don't know anything about the reality of God. When God calls on you, God demands more of you than music and science and baseball and basketball. God wants complete obedience to Him, complete worship of Him. So you say in the Bible, you know, the first law is to love God with all your heart. What do you mean all your heart? Let me check that out. All your soul and all your mind. He don't want no half, nothing. I want it all. And in that all, you find relationships. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Now, I want to come to something very deep now. When the child who needs a relationship with the parent does not feel that that relationship is honored, the child then rejects not just the parent, but the child rejects the mission. The child rejects the word. Since this God took my father away from me, and I ain't got no relationship with my father, and since he ain't seemed like he got time for me and really don't care, then I'll show him. I'll go the exact opposite way for my attention. So while you teaching one thing, the child is doing something else. And the child don't realize that the child is not hurting the father, is hurting the father in one sense, but the child is destroying himself to get the attention of the father. Isn't that something? Noah had a son, listen to me, and that son didn't love his father. The father loved the son. The father pleaded with God, save my son. This is from the Quran. Did you know God told Noah, if you ask me to save your son one more time, I'll kill you and your son. Then God says to Noah, I know best who is your son. He is not your son. He is the very embodiment of evil. This is the Quran. Now, how could this righteous man produce a son that is the embodiment of evil? What is evil? What is the root of evil? The root of evil is rebellion. And when you don't give children what they think they need, they find ways to rebel. And in that rebellion, you see, that gives the parent pain, but it's destroying the child. So the more the child rebels, the more pain he gets, the more need for pleasure. I can't find it in a relationship with my father. I refuse to call on my father's God. I will not pray because I don't believe. Then I'll find my solace in a drug. So I'll take the drug and create a euphoric condition and go into a dark room like a womb, and I will stay in the dark, and then I will begin to pervert reality and put all the blame on my parents and take no responsibility for my own actions. And then when my parents confront me with my inadequacy, I will lie to them and lie to myself to cover myself, so I am one self-deluded now. And then I start becoming a devil because I can no longer see truth or connect to truth because I refuse to connect to my righteous Father who's trying to connect me to the righteous God. See? So that son, boy, was killed by God. That's the Quran. The Bible comes at it a different way. The Bible puts it like this. The father got the sons through the flood. And then the father was seen drunk and naked. This is critical. Because when somebody helps you to get over, and you see the person that helped you in a critical condition that you think is contrary, your duty is to help the one that helped you. So the sons that loved the father, they wouldn't look on his nakedness. They walked with a cover and tried to cover the father's nakedness. But that son that really didn't love the father, he started mocking the father in his nakedness. Remember now, this is a father that got the boy through the flood. But the son is ungrateful. And ingratitude and proudness leads to perversity and rebellion and hatred. So that son was destroyed. Second son, the son of David. David had a son called Absalom. And if you break that name down into syllables, Ab means from or away from, and Salam or Shalom or Salam means peace. So the more you are away from submission to a righteous principle, the less peace you have. You understand? Absalom. Absalom used to stand in the gate of his father's palace. And when the people would come to the father, Absalom would meet them first and he would kiss their hand. He was trying to win them. See, the sick need to be wanted, to be needed, to be loved, but it wasn't a proper relationship. So he struck up a deceitful relationship with his father's followers. Then he openly became an enemy of his father. And then went up on the roof and laid with David's wives in the presence of all of Israel. Now, sometimes you can't crush your father. He's too strong. So if he has wives and he's up in age, you try to get to his wife or wives that is not your mother. And you try to lay with them. So if I can conquer what my father loves, then I have conquered my father. This thing starts growing. Children think they're better than their parents, whom God has chosen. And they may be, but they'll never develop that better until they submit to their father, who is the righteous guide from God. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can't get in God's world behaving proudly against the teacher of righteousness. So what happens? They go to war. The son goes to war against his father. I don't mean to bore you all. But if you're tired, you can go ahead home. You go ahead home. But I'm going to tell you something. You stay all day watching a football game. You don't get tired watching them MTV and all that foolishness. But when a man is trying to help you to understand what makes you tick, you get a little upset, uptight. He's talking too long. Well, I ain't never talking too long. When it get too long for you, get up and excuse yourself. Because I don't get through till I'm through. But I'm almost there. See, but that patience, you know what I mean? Patience. Now, when that boy laid with his father's wife, see, that was the sign that he hated his father. And he hated his father. If you look deep into it, it was a problem of relationships. Again, insecure. Then he went to war against his father. But the father loved him so. The father told the soldiers, please, when you overcome my son, don't kill him. But the captain of David, when they finally caught Absalom, or he was caught in a tree by his hair, Joab couldn't help himself. He hated the son for his rebellion and war against the father. His hatred, see, that's an emotion, overriding now the instruction of the king. See? Telling you that your hatred, your anger can put you in a position to disobey God. And even though Joab claimed to be the servant of the king and was with the father, he was so angry with the king's son, he couldn't hear the command of David, and he slew David's son. And David, after all of Israel was rejoicing that Absalom and his rebellious foes were destroyed, David was in the tent crying. And he was saying over and over again 2 words: my son, my son. And I can tell you today that in 1964, when Wallace D. Muhammad first broke against his father and said very disparaging things in the press against his father. I was living in Boston, and as God is my witness, one night, it is like Allah lifted me right up out of my own body. My body laying in the bed in Boston. But I'm traveling, and I can see the ground and the trees, and I'm flying over the ground. I'm going to Chicago. And as I come up on his home, Elijah Muhammad's home on 47 Woodlawn, I come around the house. This is in the spirit now. And I look in, and I see Elijah Muhammad sitting on the bed in his son's bedroom with his back to the window. And he was crying the most deep and bitter cry that I've ever heard a man cry. I mean, the cry was coming up from his loins. And I heard him saying over and over again, my son, my son, my son. And I approached the window in the spirit, and I whispered to him, I said, I will be your son. And he never turned around and acknowledged my presence. And so I left feeling rejected. And I went back and got right back inside myself. And the next day, of course, I go and study. And I find in the history of David crying in the tent, saying, my son. Now, I'm not lying to you. I wouldn't lie to you if they put a gun to my head. And I would never tell the Honorable Elijah Muhammad what God showed me, because I didn't want him to think that I was trying to take his son's place. But I am his son. And I am more his son than any flesh and blood child that he produced. I'm not his son from the womb. I am his son from the word. But to him, and I say this, Wallace D. Muhammad was a wonderful child. Oh, if you knew Wallace D. Muhammad when we were growing up, you would never find a more magnificent young man than that man. He was more brilliant than all of the ministers. His insight, his depth was magnificent. I'm telling you what I know. That man was a great student of philosophy. And I mean, he had deep insight into human thinking. Deep insight. And we knew that his father was grooming him. But inside, Wallace didn't agree with his dad. You know what made him disagree? Pain. He saw the Muslim community following his father in pain. Sisters, put on your headpiece. Cover yourself. Your dress is too short. Lower it. Pain. Brothers, hold it. 10 hut. Soldier. Sell so many papers. The brothers didn't want to get out on the corner selling them papers. Pain. And the imam felt the pain. He was a very soulful, sensitive young man. But he felt pain, as I mentioned in my October the 9th message, and the pain that he felt, he didn't understand the root of that pain. And when you misinterpret why a pain and what is causing the pain and why pain is necessary, then you may try to remove pain and end up producing something that is ugly. And I'm telling you what the scripture says. Every father wants good for his child. How could God say he loved the whole world and then allow Jesus to suffer so much pain? Think about that. Isn't he a good father? Would you as a father allow your son to go to the cross and suffer and bleed and die? Would you do that? Not you. Because in your natural spirit, you want pain relieved immediately. But God knows best. He knew that it would take that kind of pain to produce a son that was worthy to be a deliverer for a people. I close. I say this to you. Don't be that kind of son to your father if he's trying to be right. Don't be that kind of daughter to your mother if she's trying to be right. Simply because mom didn't give you all that you needed, don't hate your mother or hate your father. They are victims of a world that deprived both of us and both of them of knowledge. You young people, no matter what condition your mom is in, that's mom. God orders you to love her. God orders you to honor her. God orders you and me to respect her. And if you're patient with life, you'll grow to see that mama loved you. And she did the best she knew, but she needed so much herself that she neglected you and in some sense rejected you because she was an unfulfilled woman and she was trying to find somebody to love her. Finally, she put her love into her children, and she did it in a twisted way. She didn't mean any harm. She's imperfect, but she did her best. Your father may never have been there, young man. He may never have been there, sister, for you. But thank God for your father, for without that seed, you could not be where you are and who you are. So if your parents have made mistakes, you've grown now. You're growing now. You got to take responsibility for your life. Mama's days of mothering you is nearly over. So what are you going to do now? Are you going to wallow in self-pity, or are you going to stand up and make a determination, then connect with God? For he makes right or wrong things right. He takes the rough places and he makes them plain. He takes the crooked thing and he makes them straight. So the burden is now on you to reconnect. Reconnect to God first, and then go find your mom and embrace her and say, thank you, Mom. Thank you for all that you did. And what you didn't do, God is sufficient now. Thank you, Dad. And he'll feel so ashamed. Well, I mean, son, you know, I would have liked to done. He is going to lay them excuses on you, but look past that and tell him. Say, Dad, I love you. Well, I know I didn't do nothing, son, but I tried. You know what I mean? Your mother's something else. But look past all of that and say, Dad, look, I know you would have done better if you could have. If he knew better, he would have done better. Because now as he's getting older, he needs you. And he recognized he didn't put nothing in, so he's hard now to expect anything out. So most of our fathers, they're going to their death now alone, man. Nobody to mourn them, nobody to cry over, man, because they ain't done a doggone thing in life worthwhile. That's sad, isn't it? You got a chance, man. You young, you got a chance. You connect with God, whose proper name is Allah. And you begin to determine now, with the help of God, you're going to make something out of your life. And if you tighten your relationship with God, I bound you, you will tighten up all other relationships. Then it won't be the sick thing. A woman looking for fulfillment in a man looking for the woman to love him so she becomes his other mother. I'm telling you, God is able, man. You go to him and you find solace and comfort in him. Then when you have a relationship with a woman, it is a better relationship. It's a cleaner relationship. It's a relationship on a right term. That's why we're hooked on drugs. We can't relate well to the society. It gives us pain. We didn't relate well to mom, to dad. We're not really relating well to ourselves. So give me a hit, man. How much is the rock, man? And let me burn this rock and inhale death and twist my brain into illusions, because maybe there I'll find some pleasure to make up for the pain of my life. There's pleasure in finding God in a relationship. Man, I'm leaving you now, but I'm walking in the valley of the shadow of death. The government says I'm enemy number one. They got 100-man task force that does nothing but follow me, tap my phone, listen to my conversations, plot against me in this city and that city. They send people in to watch me and report to people what they think my weakness is, what they think I like, what I don't like. I'm just telling you, this is all around. But yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I don't fear any evil. Allah is with me. Oh, I worry at night because I want to see us raise the money to make a national center to show the world that we are on the rise. I worry, but in the morning I'm not worried anymore because I know Allah is able. My precious mother lies dying as I speak with you, but she's run her course. She's done her job. She suffered all through her life, but it's all worthwhile because she will never die. She made a son and brought him into the world that will make a difference. And so as long as I live, my mother will live. So there's no death going to touch my mother. Oh, praise be to Allah. I think I'm a very blessed man because I have my sons and I have my daughters and I have my family surrounding me now. My sons and my daughters called me to a meeting a few days ago, and the eldest daughter said to her father, "Dad, ever since I've been in the world, I've been watching you struggle for black people, and I've never seen you waver." She said, even though you have sacrificed us in a sense for the mission, today we understand. And through that pain, we've come to the realization that now we must help you in your mission. I broke down and I cried because I'm going toward death. I'm walking slow. I ain't running. You understand? I mean, I don't want you to think that, I ain't going to be here for a while. I mean, Allah didn't show me anything, but Whatever his pleasure is mine. You know, but I'm saying that to say this, that as a man gets older, the greatest comfort to him is to see his children adopt the God that he has been teaching about all their life. Not adopt him, but believe him. And my children have seen me up, and they've seen me all the way down. And when my children said, I can't follow no God that will allow you who work so hard for the nation and for black people now to be rejected, and some of the same people you work for trying to take your life. And even though I didn't know how, I told my children, I said, baby, I said, you will see. This is only a trial. God is going to lift your father up and make me victorious over all my enemies. You will see. That was 11 years ago. And now here it is. I ain't reached not even halfway where God wants me to go. My father, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, said I would reach the pinnacle of success in this world's life. I ain't even started on the road yet. So if you think the boy is bad now, watch him a little bit longer. As the messenger said, look at him when you see him. And listen to him when you hear him. So I thank Allah as I close for my mom and for my dad, who is passed on, never saw his son in the development of a son. I thank Allah for my brother. I thank Allah for my children. Beautiful children. Children with such great gifts. This son that sits in front of me, Louis Jr., my first boy after 3 girls. Well, he's such a powerful young man. He speaks sometimes in ways his father don't understand. I'm just telling you, he's far ahead. And I got to tell him, slow down, you know what I mean? Because Daddy got to catch up with what you're talking about. The boy is a visionary. And at 10 years old, when he was 10 years old, he told me about how God created himself. He told me about the atom of life out in space, and he said it was like, he didn't use the word pulsating, but like in a breathing motion. He was showing me how it was expanding and contracting in space. I didn't know what he was talking about. And I went to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and told the Honorable Elijah Muhammad what my son had said, and he said, your son is right. I said, good God, what I got here? He was 10. He never found peace in school. He never found peace in school. And you got many children that are brilliant and they don't find no peace in the school. It ain't that they're dumb, but the teachers have not caught up with the brilliance that they're trying to deal with. You got brilliant children, mothers. They ain't dummies. Don't let the teacher tell you you got to dope your children up because they're hyperactive. The teacher got to slow your baby down so they can catch up with your baby. You better get all that dope out of your system. So I thank God for my son Wallace, a strong warrior. He's born that way. This son is a visionary. And when he gets his life in the order that he's on the road to getting it, man, what a contribution he's going to make. Because, see, all his life he was taught from me that he should live for you. That's right. From their cradle, I never took no credit. When I put shoes on their feet, I said it came from you. When I put a suit on their back, I said it came from you. So why, son, did I say that? Because I want you to know that life ain't worth a damn unless you serve the rise of your people. And when the messenger would put money in my pocket, I would give some to them and say it came from him. Never did I tell him it came from me. It either was from you or from the messenger or from God. Never did I say me. And I read all my children, be with your father when I'm right. But if you see me wrong, stand against wrong. Ask them, they'll tell you. I thank Allah for my children. I got another son, Joshua. Uncanny in the brilliance of his mind. He too couldn't relate to school. He needed something from his father that his father didn't give him, because his father found something to feed his need. And his father went after that lock, stock, and barrel in the name of God. You see, we use God for all kind of things. But I'm telling you that the love for God was not pure. It was part God and part need. Do you understand? Yes, can you admit something like that? Yes, sir. You better. Confession is good for your soul. It's good for you to face who you are and what you are and what you've been and what God wants you to be. Don't hide no more. He's in love with you. He wants to forgive you. He wants to make you a great people. Don't try to hide from him. He already knows what you're doing. So go to him and say, look, I've been messed up. He said, I know it. I've been funky. He said, I know that too. I've been wrong. He said, I know. I've been waiting on you. And boy, when you can face yourself and get it up off of you, you're free as a bird, brother. You're free as a bird, sister. All praise is due to Allah. Yeah, man. My son Josh, that boy is too tough. I watched him from a little boy. He always wanted to be the best at whatever he was. So his daddy didn't recognize him like I should have. So he said, well, you know what I mean, later. You know what I mean? You don't want to recognize me? Fine. I'll go get drunk and be somebody. I didn't know that the boy was drinking at 11 and 12. I was too busy. And many of us, we get so busy seeking what will gratify us, we're not concerned about what will gratify those who are given in a trust to us by God. And so as the children get older, when they don't respond to us as we think they should, and where did I go wrong? We had a wrong relationship from the giddy up. Excuse the slang, I mean from the beginning. I watched my son Joshua train snakes. I watched him train rabbits. I watched that boy take wildlife and make wildlife obey him. I watched him come in wild, vicious dogs and quiet the vicious dog down. And I asked him the other day, I said, how do you do that, son? He said, it's the presence. See, and he's not what you call educated in the school, but he's got something that school can't give you. He said, Daddy, it's my presence. It's what's in me that the dog senses. And he responds to what he senses from me. So I told him when he was a young boy, I said, Lord, if you can train wild animals, come help me train wild people. He said, well, Daddy, when I stop being wild, then I can help you with the wild. So now Josh is on the way. He's getting his wildness out, and he's getting ready to take his job. And I'm going to tell you all, oh, hell yeah, it takes time. I'm an old man, it took time. So if my son can grab it at his age, he's far ahead of me. But look, the boy is bad. He be drunk, they tell me, in the bars, preaching. Have the glasses submitting. I said, boy, when you ready, I'm just going to sit down. Because it makes a father feel good when he sees his son stand up and take the mission and say, Daddy, I'll help you. Huh? He's about getting ready. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I feel stronger now, you know. I feel better now. But what about them daughters you got? I got one more son. I'm talking about them sons first. Because they've been last, I got to make them first now. I got a son named Abner. See, the messenger named him because he was destined to be a general. So he's in military school now. But soon he'll be in the university. I want him to learn everything there is about war. Because maybe the world don't want us free. So I got a visionary. I got a soldier, statesman in Wallace. Did you hear him at the rap night? Oh, he was so mean that night, tears come out my eyes. I said, look at this boy. The other one, you ain't heard them yet now. They're going to bust loose. I said, that's good. And I want to say this about my family. See, none of you know their sacrifice. I don't want you to judge my family. Don't make a mistake like that. Because you weren't with me when I had to teach them how to roll out of the bed. When people throwing fire bombs in our window and shooting in our window trying to kill me and didn't care whether they killed my children or not. You weren't there when me and my wife was picking food up out of the street to make a little plate for them to eat. You were not there when we had to go to the Salvation Army and buy their clothes. See, you were not there. So don't talk to me about what my children are or are not. When you are tried like they've been tried, then you come and talk to me. You Johnny-come-latelys to the faith. I got a daughter, my oldest daughter. She the warrior. She used to beat men. She didn't have no fear or nothing. She really believed in the God and would thump. So everybody knew her around the block. Don't mess with Big B. Because she'll thump you, brother. Call on God and whoop your pants off. And when the police attacked the mosque in New York, she was 16 years old. And she took the children and the older women, put them in behind her and stood at the door so that when they came, she was going to do battle. So when the messenger heard that, he said, one day she wrote me a letter. He said, she's going to be your captain. I didn't know what he meant. So I took her to Sister Amina Rasul at 16 and said, the messenger said she was going to be a captain for me one day, so would you train her? I didn't know that one day I'd be the head of the nation. Well, she's getting ready. I'm not saying this to put anybody down that's serving, but I'm going to tell you, a woman that's been through what my daughter been through, she know what these women need. And let me tell you, when these women come here, they ain't coming here to be played with. They've been in the world, they done caught hell, They know what it's like to love and lose in love, to have a man and a man walk out. So have my daughter. And I'm telling you, she's getting ready. I got another daughter, Donna. She can preach, man. Turn your toes up. She's her father in female form. Well, she said, Daddy, I'm ready. I'm ready. I said, come on, baby. Daddy ready too. Now, don't feel threatened. Don't feel threatened now. Because this work is so big. It needs all of us, don't it? Doesn't it? Oh, praise be to Allah. Yeah. I got another daughter, Iris. I mean, man, if you get to talking with that girl, she's so hip. But she'll laugh and joke with you and then read you in between your toenails. See, these girls, they've been around, man, and they know how to throw you off with a joke. And then you expose yourself. They say, Daddy, so-and-so ain't so-and-so. She says she coming home. She getting ready. My daughter, Colliday's in Tuskegee. She's getting ready to teach in the university. So all my family, with the help of God, wants to make a contribution to the nation's rise. I think it's wonderful. Right relationships. And they will. I got 20 grandchildren coming up now. Just had the 20th one the other day. Not that I had it. Yeah. 20 grandchildren, that's a lot of grandchildren. And then some of them ain't even got started yet. I'm going to go ahead, boy. Y'all multiply. You hear? But make sure they have a good relationship now. We got to take the lessons of our life, the failures, the mistakes of the father, the mistakes of the mother, and then we must get it right. And so let me leave you now. I done talked enough. But I want you all to know, and I want my son and my family to know, oh, excuse me, I forgot Maria. I got a daughter, and she came in here and beautified this place. We got the messengers home back, and she went in there and beautified that place, and in Phoenix. And when you finally see what's going to happen in your national center, oh, man, you're going to want to live in a bathroom. I mean, it's going to be just that pretty. You get in the bathroom, you just don't want to come out. So I have to pipe the word into the bathroom for you. She's a marvelous artist, but what she says to me, she said, Daddy, women, all women are not the same. All women don't want to dress the same. All women, even though they may love the uniform, all women they can't wear the same fez. All women don't look good in the same this. Women want to look good, and women want to be pleased with themselves. They don't want to feel like you bringing them into Islam to make them unattractive or ugly. You want to make them righteous, but you want them to be able to be modest, righteous, and yet beautiful at the same time. So I said, is that the way you think, honey? And then I got an amen from my other daughter, and I look like I'm getting an amen from you too. Now, sisters, that means then that some of you know how to design. Get your pens busy. Get busy and design beautiful clothes for black women that are righteous, that are not revealing of their form, but they are so exquisite and attractive. Be the model for the whole world of women. Shape it up. Come on and help me raise up a nation that will obey. So, I guess that's it. You know how I started? I started talking about how I needed help. I didn't forget. And don't want you to forget. I want you all to make a commitment to help your brother build a national center, and from that, let's go and build a nation for our people. So I thank you for a wonderful afternoon. Thank you for listening. Thank you for spending your time with me. Thank you for giving me your attention. I know you could have been watching the Bears, but thank God you had enough sense to know you can get the score on TV. But this you won't get unless you buy the tape and take the tape home with you. Okay? And sisters say they're going to transcribe this and get it together. So the tape was being made now. You can get the tape after this is over.